If I was to ask you top 5 lures, top 5 baits all year round, what would your top 5 be? For me, I would have to say a weightless wacky rig stick bait, a 1/2 ounce pitching jig, a Ned rig, then I'd say any more a drop shot, although a drop shot and a shaky head worm, kind of close. I'd probably give the nod to the drop shot. And then lastly, a good moving bait, a chatterbait. The Achilles heel of the chatterbait, at least for me and making my own, is the size. You can only go down to about a 3/8 before the full-size blade creates so much lift that it almost becomes unfishable. And, you know, mainstream, you really can't find smaller blades to do a more finesse approach. Or can you? Yes, indeed. We found some smaller blades, and on Amazon, of all places, I've got to give props to a buddy of mine and a good friend of the channel, Mr. Dan Miller. He's part of the SDG Facebook community group and had found these, bought some, said they took a while to get to his house, and he was using them for different applications. They were a little smaller than he had anticipated, which when I saw that piqued my interest. So I went out and bought some. It took a while for them to get to me as well. But for me, the medium size was absolutely perfect. When you put that thing on a 1/4 ounce finesse swim jig head, of course with a flat eye, oh baby, it is good, 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 which is exactly what we are going to do today. We are making a 1/4 ounce poison tail through a modified jig mold chatterbait with a downsized blade, and I'm pretty psyched about it. I say poison tail and modified because we are going back to the poison tail head that normally takes a vertical eye. If you want a flat eye, you have to modify it. If you missed the video where I did that to a 1/2 ounce, I'll link that below. You guys can go see that. We're not going to do that now. I already did that to the mold. I just drilled that out. Super simple. Just like before, you take some little clippers and you clip out the post that's right in the middle that holds the hook there, and then you just drill out. This one was super simple because the size of the drill bit was exactly what I needed to drill that down and make room for the flat eye hook. Speaking of hooks, I found a VMC, it's on Barlow's, VMC 7328 hook size in a 3/0, which I think is perfect for a 1/4 ounce. So you guys have seen me pour lead 100 times, but I did want to show you what it looks like once it's all said and done. You'll get a little lead up and around the eye of the hook. Not a big deal. You just clip it out, clean it up. As usual, you know, shape it and do all of that stuff. And then you are ready for paint. Did you guys know that you can use the powder pigments that we use in soft plastics, add them to clear Protect powder paint, and get, in our case today, a colorshift powder paint for jig heads? That's exactly what I have done. I've already mixed it up. Today we are going to use Sunburst colorshift powder pigment. It's a 6-to-1 ratio, so 6 parts clear Protect powder paint to 1 part Sunburst, and boy, do you get a sweet, sweet result. I even used it to paint the blade. Check out that guy. And that's in the Sunburst, just like the head, so it matches. For comparison's sake, here is a normal sized shaky blade that we would normally use. Not the Magnum, obviously, but the normal. And here is the size differential. I'll be sure to I'll be sure to drop a link for these guys down in the video description. You can find them, like I said, on Amazon. I've got the eyes on our jig head already. I'm feeling my own rendition of Sungill. which is kind of a brownish top with a yellow belly. So here's that gorgeous little 1/4 ounce sunburst color shift head. Isn't that amazing? Oh. Before I go on, I did want to mention I experimented with how to paint these in a couple different ways, including putting a base coat of white down and then just single dipping the jig head. The one that you see here is double dipped, which I think works the best on almost every type of color shift that I was playing with. But let me show you what it looks like with a white base and just one dip in the color shift. See that? The white kind of bled through when it cured. Now, it didn't look like this before I put it in the oven, but after it heated, that top layer was pretty thin and it just bled through, and that was the case for every one that I did. A couple of them have kind of a cool look with some kind of like a white highlight in some places, but if I was to do this again, and if you decide to do this, go out to Barlow's and pick up some powder pigments in the soft plastics area, and then pick up some of this clear stuff so that you can make your own. I would highly suggest double dipping in the results, or in your creation there, instead of going to the white. Thread today, we are going to use 210 denier flat wax nylon as usual in a nice kind of a espresso dark coffee brown. So let's get a thread base down. Easy skirt pattern today. My rendition of Sungill is going to start with 1/2 tab of satin gold. Couple light wraps. I always like to fold it back, make sure my tabs are even. And then we're going to push this down to about halfway, a little less than halfway would be fine. I have a 1/2 tab on the bottom and a full tab made up of 2 different colors on top. So if it doesn't go all the way down, a little thicker on the bottom, not a problem. That's that. Next is a tab from Lure Parts Online. This is called Texas Craw, and it's kind of got this copperish black, some red flake in there that you can see. One of my favorites. It's in the Chameleon section, if I recall. That is a 1/2 tab. We're going to put that one down first. Of course, whatever you put down first is what's going to show up the most, colors notwithstanding, because as it folds over, that's going to be the top layer when it folds over. So make sure our lengths are okay. Push that around just to meet up with the gold. If it's a little bit more sparse on top, a little thinner, that's okay. Like I said, we've got another layer to go, which is, excuse me, Nature's Edge, I believe, natural pumpkin. So any kind of natural brownish pumpkin color, not green pumpkin, but more of a brownish natural pumpkin will do. That is also 1/2 tab. We're going to put that right on top and spread it around. Give our top color a little texture. That looks good. All right, I'm going to take my hair clips here, these little mini deals, and clip that in just so it stays out of my way. Go ahead and create a thread base, but we're not done yet. I just want to create a collar to lock all that stuff in. I'm not sweating it too much if I've got some stuff that's showing through, because we got one more step and that will be covered up as we put it on. And that is brown holographic Flashaboo. So I'm going to pull out 2 or 3 pieces of this, and then we're going to cut it in half. And we're going to put half of it on one side and then kind of up on top, and then the other half on the other side kind of up on top. Don't want any of it in the gold though. So I ended up with 3 strands. Cut that in half. We'll put it on your side first. It's always harder for me to work across here. I'm going to put it on top-ish, kind of a diagonal top, and then fold that back right against the side. And you can kind of spread it out from there if you like. That looks good. Alright, and just for my own sanity, I'll take those and pull them back and get it clipped out. Second 3, find the middle, thereabouts. Same idea, kind of diagonal on top. Use your thumb to hold that in place, couple of wraps, and then just grab it and fold it back. Now I've got some on top and on both sides. These are my whip finishes. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now we need to seal those threads as we normally do. And get the Loon head cement out to do that. Water-based head cement. And paint it on. Beautiful. Make sure everything is separated. We'll probably trim that just a little. Not to even it out. I'm actually going at an angle to give it some shape. And then up on the other side. It's just going to be a little bit long, having made a couple of these. Kind of angling things here. Check that out. Ooh, yeah. Got that gold belly. And the copper natural pumpkin top. Here's the version. This is a finished version in a swim jig. Check that guy out. Oh yeah. A little bit more material because that's a 3/8 ounce swim jig, but same head, same pattern. I show you this because when we get to the soft plastics, we're going to open pour some 3-inch jackhammers for this guy, but I'm also going to inject that new whip wad as a laminate for this guy, because a whip wad in the complementary color palette here on the back of this guy with a 4/0 hook, absolute money. So the only thing left to do now is to install our blade on the front. Because we've got that flat eye hook, all we need to do is get our split ring out and a duo snap, and then connect it all, and this thing will be ready for a trailer. Size-wise, because this is smaller, normally I'm using on a full-size Bladed Frenzy, Chatterbait, whatever, I'm using a size 2 duo snap and a size 2 split ring. Both of those come down 1 to fit this, and there is a little bit of manipulation. You got to pinch things because these holes, especially these bottom 2, they're a little small, so you got to go into your duo snap. This is a size 1, and pinch that guy down a little bit so it'll pop through. I also use a size 1 split ring for this application. So 1 size down seems to do the job perfectly. That's what I would recommend. All right, guys, that is it from the vise. Let's now turn our attention to the soft plastics. So as I mentioned, we're going after a sungill pattern. So I thought to spice it up a little bit and make it my own, kind of make it my own little rendition, we would use Cutthroat Trout, which is a changeable from MF, as the top color with some flake added into it. One in particular that I'm hoping will pull some of those highlights in our skirt color in. So let's go a little Cutthroat Trout. I haven't used this one in a long time. I'm not sure on saturation. So 15 drops to start with, and we'll go from there. There's 15. This is 1 cup of Bait Plastics 242. I think that's going to be pretty translucent. Yeah. I want it to be fairly translucent, but not too much, right? We're not looking for a see-through bait entirely. So I'm going to go, let's go another 10. $25 drops for an MF product. That's not too bad. 30 to 40 is usually a darker saturation. That's looking pretty good. Let's add our flake. Sometimes flake changes things, right? My buddy Art Fowler has been putting flake in first and then adding colorant afterwards. Says it helps him somewhat. I have yet to try it, but it sounds interesting. So this is a 1/4 teaspoon of large black. This is kind of my favorite way to do black. And then 1/8 of a teaspoon of 15 black. That's looking good. Very nice. So the last piece, this is our build from today. And if you look closely, if you can see that, there's little sparkles of red every now and then in the Texas Craw skirt layer that we put on the top. It's just a little bit of red, and when the light hits it, that brown, holographic brown, actually looks a little bit red as well. So we're going to put just a dash, just a teeny dibble of 0.008, the really small stuff, red in there. I've got a 1/16 of a teaspoon. We're gonna do like just half of that and see what that looks like. I just want a hint. Yeah, there we go. See how it shows up every now and then. See that on the knife? Really small, just a little highlight. Second color, another cup of Bait Plastics 242, ready to roll. I mean, is there any question really what we're going to use for the second color? If the head was sunburst and the head came from a color shift powder pigment, obviously we're going to use that for the belly as well. I'm only going to go with 1/8 of a teaspoon though, because I still feel like even at 25 drops that Cutthroat is going to be pretty translucent. I like this in 1/4. I think it really pops. I think it's going to look sweet at 1/8, don't get me wrong, but I want to try to match that transparency as best as we can. I think my best shot at doing that is with 1/8 per cup. So let's get that mixed in. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful color. And that's it for this one. Nothing more is needed in the belly because this color is awesome enough on its own. All right, we're warmed up. I'm really fighting the urge to put more color shift in that sunburst, but I'm gonna go with it. Hopefully it works out. They look good beside each other, so we'll see. Nice big draw. So I've got both of these here with me, and as you can see, I like to clamp them between 2 other molds. when I'm running them, whether I'm running them separately or together like this. I just think it helps not put a pinch point from your clamps. It spreads out that pressure. So I do that with just about every, actually I do it with every top inject that I have. Really works out well. We're cooled off, ready to go. And I know technically this wasn't our build today, but the swim jig that these are going to go on, it was the same skirt pattern, right? So I think it counts. Plus it'll give us a little preview that if we need to tweak, adjust our colors a little bit, we'll be able to do so before we open pour the 3-inch jackhammers. So let's open up one of these guys and see if it's awesome. Alright. Oh yeah. Oh gosh. Ooh, look at that sparkle. Oh man. Yeah, that worked. Boy, look, oh gosh. Look at that. Ooh, look at that. So I shot these, as you see there, full body. I didn't have the hooks slots in them because they are, once again, going to go on a swim jig. No hook slots needed. There they are. Man. I like even the little bleed over right there. That's kind of cool. And the red is just enough. I think the saturation's right. I am encouraged. I am excited. I am ready to heat the plastisol up because obviously it's cooled down quite a bit. Our 3-inch jackhammers though are, yeah, I'm just feeling them on the hot plate. Those are nice and toasty. So let me heat up the bottom. Obviously we got to pour the belly first and get that ready to go. Before then though, we are going to be using a new tool today. Once again, Art Fowler, good friend of mine. After watching the Vertworm video not too long ago, not the giveaway, but the one before that when the Vertworm was launched and we poured some in the baby perch, he reached out and said, hey man, there are beakers that are microwave safe, that can handle the high heat, that you should look into because this makes it a lot easier to do some of those fine details. I had looked for these before on Amazon and everything that I could find was thin glass. So I searched specifically, per his recommendation, I searched specifically for Pyrex. I found some, didn't find the sizes that I wanted, but I saw another phrase and that was heavy duty. So when you found the heavy duty, or when you searched for the heavy duty and you looked in the description of these items, they talk about thicker glass, high heat, it even says microwavable, whole 9 yards. So I have been using these, and let me just tell you, you got to have a good, nice thick glove on because the whole thing gets pretty warm. But boy, do they make small open pours, just like our little 3-inch, way easier. So the plastisol will cool faster on you. You have to be mindful of that and make sure you may have to reheat, but which is fine. Just put it in the microwave in the beaker. But yeah, these have been awesome. So this is 150 ml and this is 50 ml for just those, kind of like those bars that we did on the baby perch. They've been awesome. So check them out if you do any kind of open pouring, you're looking for finer detail, just make sure you search for heavy duty and look in the description for stuff about thick glass, microwave safe, high heat, ready to go. Alright, I got the thick glove on and the beaker is full enough. These bellies, we're only making 6. I actually have 16 of these. I make like 2 batches at 8 at a time and I'm thinking about getting 2 more. Yeah, I really like them. We're only gonna make 6 today, so I don't need all that much. We want to take, well, let me just do it and then I'll show you kind of where I stop with the belly. So here's an empty one. You can kind of see that there's a slope to it inside. Let me open it up, you'll see it easier. See that, how it slopes up? So I want that belly to go about halfway and kind of slope up so that it ends somewhere along here, as clean a line as I can make it. Some are better than others. Like that one right there, I like that one. It's nice and flat. Some of these others are a little bulbous on the end. It's not the end of the world, just me being nitpicky. And by the way, this is set to 250. I'll probably bump that up to 275, maybe even 300 for the last pour. Alright, second color is warmed up. This will be our top color. I went ahead and bumped up the temperature to 300. It's been kind of rolling at that while this got ready. I'm going to start near the tail, but really take my time on the tail. If I pour it too fast into that tail, I've found that I can trap some air, and that's no bueno. Oh, the wind. It is not my friend. I do not like pouring these with that fan behind me. Let's try it this way. That's better. There we go. That's how it's supposed to go. Now they cook. I'm going to leave them on 300 here for probably 10 minutes at least, maybe 15, just to let those two layers really bond well together. Then I'll pull them off, try to let them cool down on their own as much as possible, but I always end up transferring them over to a piece of aluminum or something like that that will speed the process, but I don't do that right away. I do let it kind of cool down for a little bit, just to prevent as much of that denting in the top and in the tail as possible. So there's 3 of them. See how nice they clean up? And here's the other 3. Even that first one got all messy, and it cleans up nice. So pop it open, see what they look like. Oh yeah. Got a nice full tail there, that's good. Oh yeah. So let's check our, yep, bonding happened no problem. Nothing's pulling apart, no cold cracks. Everything welded together very nicely. Oh yeah. How about that? Yep, that works. Check it out. Oh man, look at that blade. Perfect sized comparison or complement to a 1/4 ounce. Perfect length with that 3/0 hook. Oh man. Wow. That turned out fantastic. So I teased this build on Instagram and it got quite a response. So I imagine because there's not a whole lot of finesse chatterbaits out there, there may be some interest. I've made up a couple extras and put them on the website, and go check them out if you're interested. Link is in the video description. Well, did I do Sungill justice? Yes, it was my little rendition of it, my little twist with maybe some different nuances, but I think it turned out pretty sweet. In the small package, it looks so nice and it's so compact. It's quickly gonna grow into that number 2, maybe number 3 spot for me in my go-to baits. I think it's just going to be that productive. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more videos just like it, then click right here. If you're curious about the name SDG, then click right here. Otherwise, until the next build, I'll see you guys in the shop.